ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 9, Chapter 14, King Pururava enchanted by Urvashi. Text number 49. This is the last verse of this chapter. Pururavasa evasi Pururavasa evasi Trayi Treta Mukhe Nrupa Trayi Treta Mukhe Nrupa Agnina Prajaya Raja Agnina Prajaya Raja Lokam Gandharvam Eyivan Lokam Gandharvam Eyivan Pururavasa evasi Trayi Treta Mukhe Nrupa Agnina Prajaya Raja Lokam Gandharvame Jiva.
Gandharvam
From King Pururava. Eva, thus, Asid, there was, Trayi, the Vedic principles of karma, jnana and upasana. Treta Mukhe, in the beginning of the Treta Yuga. Nrupa, O King Parikshit. Agnina, simply by generating the fire of sacrifice. Prajaya, by his son. Raja, King Pururava. Lokam, to the planet. Gandharvam, of the Gandharvas. Eyivan, achieved. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. O Maharaj Parikshit, at the beginning of Treta Yuga, King Pururava inaugurated a Karma Kanda sacrifice. Thus Pururava, who considered the Yagnik fire his son, was able to go to Gandharva Loka as he desired. Please repeat this translation after me. O Maharaj Parikshit, at the beginning of Treta Yuga, King Pururava inaugurated a Karma Kanda sacrifice. Thus Pururava, who considered the Yagnik fire his son, was able to go to Gandharva Loka as he desired. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In Satyuga, Lord Narayana was worshipped by meditation. Krite yadhyayato Vishnu. Indeed, everyone always meditated upon Lord Vishnu, Narayana, and achieves every success by this process of meditation. In the next yuga, Treta Yuga, the performance of yajna began. Tretayam rajato makhaihi. Therefore, this verse says, Trayi Treta Mukhe. Ritualistic ceremonies are generally called fruitive activities. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that in Treta Yuga, beginning in the Swayambhuva Manvantara, ritualistic fruitive activities were similarly manifested from Priyavrata, etc. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 9th canto, 14th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled King Pururava enchanted by Urvashi. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjalichalataya Chaksharum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Nama Om Vishwavada Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswate Devi Bhaktam. So we have heard so far how this king Pururava was completely infatuated by Urvashi, and then when Urvashi left him, he became heartbroken, and he was thinking, because she went away to Gandharva Loka from where she came for just 1 year, and Pururava found out a means how we can go to Gandharva Loka and meet her again. So that is described here as Trayi Treta Mukhen Drupa. Trayi means the Vedic principles, the 3 principles of the Vedas: Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. In the beginning, everyone in Satya Yuga were actually simply engaged in meditation on Vishnu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana or Vishnu, was the only worshipable deity in Satya Yuga for everyone. And there was only one division of human beings called Hamsa. I think they were all situated in perfect spiritual life. They knew the goal of life very clearly, self-realization. And whole life, they simply dedicated for self-realization. So what did they do? They would just meditate on the Supreme Lord. And there is only one mantra, Vedic mantra, Omkar, Om. So they would simply chant Om, meditate on Vishnu or Narayana, the Supreme Lord. And in that way, they practice spiritual life for self-realization, for achieving perfection of self-realization. But the beginning of Treta Yuga is marked by the introduction of some fruitive activities among human beings. Fruitive activities means people are interested in sense enjoyment, and for the sake of fulfilling their desires for sense gratification, the Vedas give 3 different methods. They are called 3 kandas, or 3 divisions of the Vedas: Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. This is explained by Srila Prabhupada in different places in the Bhagavatam. So I'll just read out the relevant portion from the Bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada says in the first canto, in the beginning of Bhagavatam, there are 3 paths mentioned in the Vedas. What are the 3 paths? One involves fruitive activities to gain promotion to better planets. To go to higher planets for better standard of sense enjoyment. This is unknown to modern people because they don't have Vedic knowledge generally. They think that there is no life on other planets. They think other planets are empty, vacant. Only there is life on Earth. Now, how do they come to such a conclusion? Because they are analyzing what is the living condition on some other planet, and they are finding it not suitable for human beings to live there. So they think it is just empty place, useless place, good for nothing. Actually, they are completely misled. Because first of all, entrance to higher planets is not possible by mechanical means, by scientific advancement. There is no possibility anybody can go there. There are stringent laws of material nature, and these laws are perfectly enforced by superior authorities. That is completely unknown to these so-called people of science. They are all actually like frogs in the well. In logic, Nyaya, there is one Nyaya called Kupa Manduka Nyaya. That means a frog in a well considers its well as the entire existence that is possible. A 3 feet or 4 feet wide well. And if the frog is informed of the ocean, which is millions of times bigger than the well, a body of water, then the frog finds it very difficult to believe that there is something so big. So what can the frog conceive? How big will the ocean be? So its own well is maybe 4 feet wide. So it may think, oh, maybe the ocean is 6 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet, 100 feet. That's all it can think of. Similarly, the scientists and the materialists, they always analyze and think in terms of their own present existence, because they are in the bodily concept. So they can't think of anything beyond their own body and the present situation. They can't think of anything beyond that. If they are informed of something bigger or greater, which they cannot conceive, then they say that's all mythology. It's all false. So this sort of thinking itself in the scriptures is called Kupamanduka Nyaya. But Srila Prabhupada says there are some sincere scientists who one day, by making further research and analysis and study, they will reach the perfection of their own science, where they will discover life on higher planets, life in higher dimensions of existence. They will discover that. But it's going to take a very, very, very long time. Their method is the ascending process. That's a very slow process. Very, very slow process. The Vedic method is the descending process. The ascending process in Sanskrit is called Aroha Pantha. That means whatever little we know, we try to expand the frontiers of knowledge. And this expansion is very, very slow, because we have to develop our own methods of research, analysis, and expand our thinking, and our knowledge has to develop more and more and more and more. Just like simple example, how much do the scientists know about what we call the mind? Very little. But there is research going on, and they're discovering so many more things about the mind, because it's a subtle part of this human body. So subtle body, they know very little about subtle body. But there are yogis, even now there are yogis who are able to manipulate the subtle body and to demonstrate some siddhis. We call it yogic perfection. So that the scientists simply say paranormal phenomena. They're given one term and they just dismiss that. Some freak occurrence, chance occurrence, something happens. They don't think it is scientific, they don't think it is repeatable, they don't think it is possible to be developed as a science. They have no idea. Because they don't know what is the technique of meditation. This is unknown to modern science, the technique of meditation, controlling the mind and exercising the faculty of the mind to actually enter into higher dimensions of existence. These things are all very elementary in the elementary knowledge in the Vedas. The Vedas talk about 4 platforms of existence. The gross bodily platform, which we all know, this external body, in terms of what we perceive through these gross senses. And we only talk about mostly physical objects. Even people, we take it in terms of their bodies, that's all. At the most, we may say living body and dead matter. That's all we distinguish. And even this living body is not going to be living forever. This living body is going to perish. So in one sense, it's also some kind of matter only, because it's going to perish. Like this dead matter also is going to perish. Similarly, this body also will perish. So they, if at all they make a distinction between living body and dead objects, they say, oh, this living body is some chemical combination. There is some symptoms of what we call as life symptoms. And they even have some theories, life comes from chemicals. And they're struggling very hard to generate life from chemicals, which is never going to happen. It's impossible. The life doesn't come from chemicals. Life comes from life. So anyway, this bodily platform is the lowest level of existence. According to the scriptures, Vedic scriptures, this is the platform of existence of the animals. Dharma vihina pashubhi samana. This is a statement of the Hitopadesha. Hitopadesha is very, very elementary book in the Vedic scriptures. Elementary book. There it is said, ahara nidra bhayamaithunam cha samanyametat pashubhi narana. There are some common 4 activities which animals and humans have in common: eating, sleeping, mating, defending. But there is a special facility for the human beings as compared to animals, that they can perform a 5th activity called practice of dharma, spiritual activity that is possible for human beings. And that is entirely different from these 4 activities. So, for understanding what is the difference between spiritual activity and these 4 ordinary activities, one has to understand this platform of existence, normal platform, general platform existence is bodily platform. We are only aware and we only deal with this body. Above the body is the mind. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, that Indriyani paranyahuhu, the senses are superior to dull matter. Because through senses, we are able to gather some knowledge. And above the senses, Indriyebhya param manaha, there is a mind which is superior to the senses. Because the mind is directing the senses, and mind is able to make some sense out of what is perceived through the five senses. If I use these eyes to see some object, unless I apply my mind, I'll not be really seeing. Just like you have experienced, if you're sitting absorbed in thought of something deep within, you're not really paying attention or conscious of what you're seeing through the eyes. You're sitting absorbed completely, even if your eyes are open. Then if somebody passes by, you don't take note of it. So that is the superiority of the mind over the senses. Indriyebhya param manaha. Manasastu para buddhi. There is another faculty called intelligence. We all know that. That's superior to the mind. Mind, you may say, is like the seat of emotions. But intelligence is the faculty of discrimination, good and bad. This discrimination capacity or capability or faculty is much superior to the faculty of the mind, emotions or feelings or some perceptions. And yo buddhe paratastu saha, the soul is even superior to the intelligence. So, corresponding to these four, the gross body, the mind, the intelligence, and the soul, there are four platforms of existence. The bodily platform, the gross platform, the mental platform, the intellectual platform, and the spiritual platform. So when we say spiritual activity is possible for the human being, the fifth kind of activity, which is superior, makes the human being superior to the animals. That is a spiritual activity on the spiritual platform. Even on the mental platform and intellectual platform, it is only material activity. Only the difference is the human beings, by exercising their mind or intelligence for the same four activities, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, they think they are more advanced than the animals. They're able to eat better. Animals eat on the street. They are not cultured, they are not civilized. We eat on a table. So this is not real advancement of the human being. Scriptures say improving these four activities or doing it in a different way is not real facility given for the human being. The real facility for a human being is to understand, I am not this body, this body means I am not the gross body, I am not the subtle body. I am not the mind, I am not the intelligence, I am spirit soul. And that spirit soul means something very, very fundamentally different. I don't die. I am not matter. Spirit is entirely different from matter. Gross and subtle matter. These things are very easily explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhumirapo nalo vayu kam mano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti rashtada. Apareyam. These 8 elements of which this gross and subtle body is made up of. Apart from these gross and subtle elements, there is the spirit soul. So these gross and subtle elements are called inferior energy of the Supreme Lord. And the superior energy is the living entity, the spirit soul. Apareyam itastu anyam prakritim vidhi me param. There is another nature, another kind of energy, that is superior energy, superior nature. Jiva bhutam mahabaho yayedam dharyate jagat. The living being, the spirit soul, who is exploiting all the objects made of these 8 elements, that living being is superior energy. So to understand this superior energy, that is what the Vedas are talking about. When you say Vedas, of course, Vedas contain both material and spiritual knowledge. But the speciality of the Vedas is the spiritual knowledge, the spiritual understanding. Material knowledge you may or may not take from the Vedas. Anyway, there's plenty of material knowledge available from other sources other than the Vedas. But spiritual knowledge is not available anywhere else except the Vedas. Only source, Vedic literature. So when generally we say the Vedas, we mean the spiritual knowledge that is available in the Vedas. That is, we are spirit soul, and it's completely different kind of energy. So this spiritual life, the scientists do not know. That's why they do not know what is meditation. They can't understand what is meditation. And they don't even consider that, at least as of now. They are not so much easily accepting this faculty of the spirit soul engaging in spiritual activities, which are not similar or same as the bodily activities, either the gross or the subtle body. It's not simply some mental exercise or intellectual exercise. No. It is actually the activity of the soul. Completely different. Completely different. Now you're sitting and hearing Bhagavatam. This hearing Bhagavatam is a totally spiritual activity. What is the meaning of that? That means the real benefit of hearing Bhagavatam is not simply something for the benefit of the body or the mind or the intelligence. It is for the benefit of the soul. It has got an effect on the soul. What is that effect on the soul? Hridyantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti surutsatam. It purifies the soul of so many material misconceptions, misunderstandings. So your heart is getting cleansed of the misconceptions. And because of that, you are able to elevate your consciousness to the spiritual platform. Then you very easily understand what is this gross body, what is mind, what is intelligence. And you also understand that you are above all these 3. You are spirit. You understand that. Very easily you understand. And what's the benefit of understanding this? That in spiritual life, when you transcend the bodily platform, the mental platform, and the intellectual platform, then you discover a spiritual platform of existence which is of a different quality of life, spiritual life, different quality of life. That spiritual life is going to enable you to actually stop this chasing all these material sense enjoyment, material pleasures, and instead aim for spiritual happiness, spiritual satisfaction, spiritual contentment, which is billions of times superior to any form of material pleasure or material satisfaction. We can't compare actually the two. Not possible to compare. And it's very easily possible for the human being. That's why human life is so very precious. What is very, very difficult or almost impossible for the other living beings in other bodies, the lower creatures, that is very easily possible for the human being. Just like all of you are sitting and hearing now. Now, this is not possible for the animals. So, therefore, the Vedas, they are describing this spiritual life, the spiritual knowledge, giving us spiritual knowledge. But then people are very much interested only in sense enjoyment, sense enjoyment, sense enjoyment. They have almost become mad after sense enjoyment, especially in this Kali Yuga. This is the degradation that has set in when Satya Yuga ended and Treta Yuga began. The degradation that came in the beginning of in Treta Yuga, the second Yuga, with passage of time, is that people became less interested in spiritual activities, a spiritual activity of meditation. They became more interested in sense enjoyment. And to guide them in regulated sense enjoyment, the Vedas are prescribing 3 different methods of sense enjoyment. One is called Karma Kanda. Karma Kanda is the recommendation in the Vedas for different kinds of material benefits, simply for the sake of sense enjoyment. That's all. So different types of material gain. So many varieties of material desires people may have for better material facility, for enjoyment. So all those are described in the Karma Kanda section, which is the bulk of the Vedas. And then the Jnana Kanda is actually describing the cultivation of knowledge. The Karma Kanda is full of all kinds of rituals, Vedic rituals. Yajna, Dana, Tapa. 3 kinds of rituals. Either perform a sacrifice. Sacrifice generally means a fire sacrifice. Or give in charity, Dana. And Tapa means perform some kind of austerity, Vrata. So this Jnana Kanda consists of cultivation of knowledge, and cultivate knowledge of the difference between matter and spirit, to understand the superiority of spirit over matter. So by this cultivation of knowledge, one aims to actually get out of this material entanglement in this world and actually merge into the spiritual existence by severe austerities, by whatever means one can actually come out of this material entanglement. So this is called Jnana Kanda. It aims at liberation. Karma Kanda aims at fulfillment of material desires in pious ways. And Jnanakanda aims at liberation. So that Prabhupada says, another involves realizing the absolute truth and his impersonal feature and becoming one with him. And the third one, Upasana Kanda, involves worship of different devatas for promotion to the planets of the devatas. Actually, Upasana Kanda, even though it is considered like there is a gradation, Karma Kanda is the lowest division. And superior to Karma Kanda is Jnana Kanda, cultivation of knowledge for the sake of liberation. And superior to Upasana, superior to Jnana Kanda is Upasana Kanda. Now, why Upasana Kanda is considered superior to Jnana Kanda, even though Upasana Kanda, majority of the Upasana Kanda is worship of demigods for promotion of the planets of the demigods. That is because in Upasana Kanda, there is the recommendation of worship of Vishnu Aradhana. Vishnu Aradhana. So, in Upasana Kanda, if one comes to Vishnu Aradhana, and there is a statement by Lord Shiva that of all the types of worship that is explained in Upasana Kanda, Shiva gives his verdict to Parvati. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param. The supreme form of worship is worship of Vishnu. So when one comes to Vishnu worship, then one has reached the perfection of following the Vedic method of recommendation of spiritual life. Because Vishnu worship, it is different than any other worship or any other ritual or any other sacrifice or any other austerity, any other cultivation of knowledge. Vishnu worship will lead to transferring oneself to the planet of Vishnu. Sometimes people think there are different devatas. Vishnu they consider as one of the devatas. Because Vishnu is sometimes described as one of the three topmost devatas, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. There are many devatas, crores of devatas, but among them the topmost are Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. Why? Because they think Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the maintainer, Shiva is the destroyer. So therefore they are above all other devatas. And it's a fact. They are more powerful than anybody else in the whole universe, the whole creation, material creation. But then what they don't understand is even Brahma and Shiva are subject to the laws of material nature. Whereas Vishnu is the master of material nature. He is the real controller of material nature. That they do not know. That is called confidential knowledge. Vishnu existed before the creation. Vishnu remains in his position and form as Vishnu through the duration of the entire created world, created universe. And Vishnu remains as Vishnu after the whole creation is destroyed. There will be no more Brahma, there will be no more Shiva, there will be no more Devatas, there will be no more living entities, no more planets, no more universe, nothing. So this is confidential knowledge. Most confidential knowledge. That is very simple way explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha. Yasya sarveshu bhuteshu nashyastu na vinashyati. Everything in this material world is nashyatsu. It is destructible. Even Brahma's planet, even Shiva's planet, everything is destroyed when the final destruction takes place. But Vishnu has his nature, his planet, which is parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatana. It is beyond this manifest and unmanifest matter. Because material energy in the unmanifested state is not destroyed. It is eternal. But even beyond this unmanifested matter, which is not destroyed, which is eternally existing, there is the spiritual nature. That spiritual nature is the abode of Vishnu. And Vishnu is on that, living on that spiritual platform, in that spiritual nature, in that spiritual world. So that is not destroyed. That is eternal. When everything here is destroyed, that is not destroyed. That remains as it is. So Vishnu's form, Vishnu's abode, Vishnu's devotees, Vishnu's paraphernalia, Vishnu's activities, Vishnu's qualities, Vishnu's name, everything is transcendental. It's not material. It's not a creation. Just like this body we have got, the senses we have got, it is created. The mind we have got, the intelligence we have got, it is created. Whereas Vishnu's form, we don't say body, Vishnu's transcendental form, Vishnu's mind, Vishnu's intelligence, Vishnu's knowledge, these are all not material creations. It's like whatever knowledge we ordinarily have, it is all created. Just like we study from the alphabet, and then the alphabets are combined to form words, and the words distinctly indicate certain objects. And this whole vocabulary is used for learning, communicating, understanding. That is not spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge is different. Spiritual knowledge is different. Spiritual knowledge is already there in the soul. It simply has to be awakened by the spiritual process. By spiritual process, you can awaken your spiritual knowledge, which is already there in you. Who you are, who is Krishna, what is this world, what is our relationship with Krishna, what is the spiritual world, what is eternal life, what is spiritual happiness, everything is there in the soul, in the Atma. So that is different. Spiritual knowledge is different. Material knowledge is ordinary knowledge. So therefore, this confidential understanding, if you study Bhagavad Gita as explained by a pure devotee, not somebody's speculation, somebody's theory, no. A realized soul has actually explained Bhagavad Gita. That Bhagavad Gita you read or study or hear or understand. Then you get this confidential knowledge. Vishnu Aradhanam Param, supreme. And what is the benefit? that by worshipping Vishnu, you realize yourself and you realize Vishnu and you realize your relationship. And you are no longer interested in this body or this material world, material possessions or material happiness. Like this Pururava, he is performing this sacrifice and he is aiming to go to Gandharva Loka. Why? He wants to enjoy with Urvashi. Now, on the Gandharva Loka, the lifespan is much, much more than the lifespan on the earth. The living conditions are much superior. The standard of enjoyment is much higher, sense enjoyment. But even that is destructible. That is also destructible. There also there is death. There is suffering. So, no place in this material existence is free from death. There is no place which is free from suffering. And if at all you want to go to a place where there is no suffering, no death, no ignorance, that is Vishnu Loka, or Krishna Loka. So that Vishnu Loka, how to go to Vishnu Loka? By worship of Vishnu. How do you worship Vishnu? Vishnu worship, if you take the conventional method described in the Upasana Kanda, that is very, very difficult. It's not easy. Though Vishnu worship is actually the easiest among the different types of worship described in the Upasana Kanda, but still, if you take the Pancharatrik method, then that is the Upasana Kanda, then that is having so many rules. But the Bhagavat Vidhi or the Bhagavata process of worshipping Vishnu is simply to chant his name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare. Whether you are clean or not clean, whether you are understanding the mantra or not understanding mantra, whether you chant jokingly or seriously, somehow if that name comes out of your vibrating the tongue, you begin Vishnu Aradhana. That is considered as Vishnu Aradhana, Vishnu worship. And you're making spiritual progress. In the beginning, you may not understand or you may not perceive or may not know about it. But very soon you'll come to know that you are actually now on the spiritual path, progress. And that's going to solve all your problems. That's going to fulfill all your desires. This is one important thing about spiritual life. Sometimes people think spiritual life means, oh, material desires we cannot fulfill. It's not true. All your material desires also can be fulfilled by spiritual practice. But there is a difference. Krishna will fulfill your desires at the right time, in his own way. Not according to your calculation, not according to your demand. Just like people work so hard, they earn money. Oh, next time I'm going to buy one nice car. Of course, nowadays nobody buys car by paying money upfront. They take installment scheme. So whatever it is, down payment. I can do the down payment for my car. So I'm working very hard to save some money for down payment. This is not the way to fulfill desires by spiritual method. Spiritual method, you leave it to Krishna. Why you leave it to Krishna? Because Krishna knows what is best for me. I myself am not aware. Apanara hita ahita kichu nahi jani. Sanatan Goswami in his surrender to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he submitted that I am called a Pandit, I am called a very learned person. Because he was a Brahmana, learned Brahmana. He was expert in so many scriptures. But then he says, What is the use of all this knowledge if I do not know who I am, Kayami, and why I am suffering, forced to suffer the threefold miseries, even though I don't want to suffer. And I do not know what is good for me, what is not good for me. I do not know. That's the condition of the people in general. Even if they are educated in material knowledge, that material knowledge doesn't enlighten them as to who they are. That material knowledge doesn't help them to actually understand the prime reason why they are forced to suffer, even though they don't want suffering. So the solution for putting an end, a permanent end to all the suffering and making a permanent solution to all problems is this knowledge of the soul. And that is very easily possible. Vidyavadhu Jivanam, simply by chanting Hare Krishna. So this Pururava, it will be described in the 11th canto. After going to Gandharva Loka, he tried to enjoy with Urvashi, but that did not give him the real satisfaction he was seeking. And finally, he took devotional service. And after taking the devotional service, he sang one song called Aila Gita. Beautiful prayer he offers to the Lord. And he says, like a foolish person, I was chasing this sense happiness in the earth planet, in the Gandharva Loka, and big plans I had. I was becoming befooled by Maya. Now I come to my senses. I simply want to worship you, take shelter of your lotus feet, and come back to you. So his realization is explained in the 11th canto, but here it is just explained that he achieved that success through the Vedic sacrifice method to go to Gandharva Loka to meet Urvashi. And next what happens will be described in the next chapter. So I'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Some announcements. Today is the beginning of Deepotsav. This is Damodar month. So beginning from today, 9th of October till 8th of November, 1 month, we'll be celebrating Deepotsav. Every evening there will be Damodar Arati. We'll be singing Damodar Ashtaka. Please do come to the temple and offer a lamp to Lord Damodara Krishna and get his special blessings in this month simply by offering a lamp and praying to Lord Damodara. You will make rapid advancement in Krishna consciousness. Devotees interested in doing regular volunteer service can register your name in the temple book counter. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Bhagavatam ki jai.